Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutt with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is Friday, the 4th day of June, 2021. Happy weekend to you if you're heading down to the coast, the Gulf or the Atlantic or the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, wherever it may be. We're going to go over sea surface temperatures here in just a moment, and I'm also going to show you a very small area, luckily, of some rip current threats. Other than that, nothing going on in the tropics to speak of, as we would expect. This time of the hurricane season. June is usually pretty slow. Now, a year ago, we were already up to the sea storm. That was Cristobal. I was either on my way to or already in Mississippi for that, and we were off to the races for a very, very busy season last year. Probably not going to have nearly as busy a season this year, although it does look like, as we have talked about, it'll still be above average. Not this weekend, though. Things are going to be relatively nice this weekend. All right, so if you're headed down to the Gulf Coast, the Florida Keys, nice and warm, 27, 28 Celsius. So that's about 81, 82 Fahrenheit. Same thing along the coastline of West Peninsula, Florida, the Gulf Coast of Florida there. Maybe just about 80, 79, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or, 25, 26 Celsius up here along portions of the Panhandle. It takes just a little longer for water temperatures to warm up there. But right at the coast there in any of the more shallow areas, yes, the water temperatures can respond quicker, anywhere from Grand Isle, Louisiana, all the way around through Galveston down to Corpus Christi, South Padre Island, water temperatures 80, 81, probably close to 82, and again in some of the more shallow areas. So water temperatures in the Gulf on the way up, probably peaking out sometime in early to mid-September. And this map will definitely change. We'll start seeing water temperatures 30, 31 Celsius over the next few weeks. But if you're heading down to the beaches of the Gulf Coast area, anywhere from Texas to the Florida Keys, nice and warm, relatively speaking anyway, certainly compared to what we have off of New England, the Gulf of Maine up here, water temperatures in the upper 40s to low 50s. Ugh, horrible. Farther to the south and west, though, especially if you get towards Long Island and the Long Island Sound, a little bit more tolerable, I guess. Still cold, though, 13, 14, maybe 15 Celsius. It's not until you get south of about Hatteras down here and point south and west from there, the water temperatures get anywhere near where I enjoy them, upper 70s to almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on where you are. If you get in a boat, come out of Hatteras Inlet out here, and head out into the Gulf Stream, not far away at all. Yes, water temperatures warm up nice there, 80, almost 81 degrees in many locations. Now, up here in the Northeast, I wanted to show you this off of Long Island. There is a rip current statement. So if you're heading to the south part of Long Island, be careful, be mindful of that. Rip currents are a big deal, and they can kill you, all right? And again, I've said this before, there's no reason for me to be here if you aren't on the other side of that screen. So I'm trying to keep you safe here and just keep you mindful of other hazards, even though there's no hurricanes, because yes, hurricanes can and do send out those big long period swells, and those can create hazardous beach conditions, but over a vast area, sometimes the entire coastline of North America can get affected by these hurricanes and even tropical storms. In this case, it's just the local pattern, the way things are set up. With the conditions off the coast there, a relatively small area, but that's a pretty big population area too. Small geographically, large in terms of the amount of people that could be heading to the beaches, so just keep that in mind. By the way, you can find all of this info right here, weather.gov, weather.gov. The legend down here tells you everything you need to know, from fire weather, special marine warnings, heat advisories, and that rip current information beach hazard statement right there. And by the way, the beach hazard statement is for here in Southern California. I'll show you this real quick. Some high waves and some rip current threats down here in Los Angeles and Ventura counties. Other than that, I guess if you went inland here, you can roast your rear end off with some excessive heat warnings over there. Or you can reverse it and leave the excessive heat, head down to the beaches there of Southern California. But just be mindful of some of these beach hazards, the rip currents and the high waves. I think I read about 3 to 6 foot waves down there. But other than that, the weather map of the lower 48, except for the heat warnings out west and some flood conditions down here in Louisiana, not too bad overall going into the weekend. How do these temperatures compare to normal or average? Well, let's zoom in pretty tight here. Off the northeast, a little chilly compared to the long-term average. And even along the shelf waters here of much of the southeast and parts of the Gulf Coast, just having a little harder time warming up this year. But don't worry, a change in the overall height pattern with a big high developing up over the northeast United States or the northwest Atlantic as a whole. That'll pump in those easterly winds eventually with a big strengthening Bermuda high, and any of this warm water of the Atlantic will kind of get shoved towards the west and warm up those temperatures nice and quick. All right, National Hurricane Center, nothing from them for the next 48 hours or 120 for that matter, for the Atlantic basin anyway. But in the Pacific, we do have this one area, 60% chance of further development well off the coast of Mexico over here. So no worries, and it'll be heading away out into cooler water with a more stable atmosphere. Even if it does develop, no worries from it at all. And we can see all of this, at least much of it anyway, on the satellite picture here, courtesy of tropicaltidbits.com. That, my friends, is the remnant swirl of Blanca dying away out over those cooler waters and the more stable air mass that I talked about. This is the next area of energy that's trying to bundle up over in the southeastern Pacific. Other than that, though, strong upper-level winds still pretty prevalent, as you can see from these high clouds streaming out of South America across the Caribbean. Just no organized areas right now of deep convection. Kind of got this southwest flow, sort of a subtropical jet streaming across the Gulf and into the southeast United States. Finally got a lot of rain, much needed rain here in my neck of the woods in Wilmington, but I got to tell you, it was like 3 or 4 inches in just the last day right here at my house. Flooded the yard, filled up the kids' pool out there. It was crazy. It's like, come on, we don't need it all at once. Can you kind of spread it out over a longer period of time, please? It's all or nothing, it seems. So, yeah, looking at the satellite animation there, just a few clouds moving through, maybe a weak tropical wave coming through the Virgin Islands there. But again, those upper-level winds shredding everything apart, and the overall dry air is pretty prevalent down there as well. But a few pop-up showers crossing through that region. So if you're in the Virgin Islands, the Northeast Caribbean as a whole, nothing major, but just a weak disturbance moving through with some beautiful, probably towering cumulus clouds down that way against the backdrop of the gorgeous Caribbean Ocean in the background. All right, so there's that Bermuda high on the GFS. You can really see it outlined well with the height lines here in the 850 millibar level of that model. Brisk southerly flow coming around the backside of it out of the trades from the Caribbean. And that's about it. No impulses seen in the modeling here. If we move this out into time, 24, 48, 72, nothing really to speak of. Little weak impulse comes off of Columbia. You see that right there? That little guy right there comes off of Columbia there. The mountains down here create this sort of torquing effect. Not twerking, torque. And you get this weird, it's just the way the local, it's called a microclimate, and the orographic sinking of the air blowing across there, those trades, and there are some tall mountains down here, comes up and over, and then you just get these little spins of vorticity in this little microclimate down there, this torque that you get like an engine. And once in a while, it can create just enough that you get a tropical disturbance out of it. And it's just neat to see that. We go back. See, it comes off of Columbia there, moves into the southeast Pacific with time. And, yeah, look, it tries to develop quickly there. This is about a week out. So, doubtful it'll happen. It's just the model picking up on that little impulse right there. I just think it's neat to see. Whether or not it happens is doubtful at this point, but kind of neat to watch. In the eastern Pacific, there's the remnant 850 millibar reflection of vorticity there for Blanca. And here's the new system trying to come together. I'll leave those highlighted as we move this forward. Out into time, 24, 48. You see what happens? That other system does try to get going kind of small, So it might ramp up pretty quickly there. This is 3 days out. So eventually I guess we will get to another named storm in the Pacific before the weekend is up. And it moves on out to the west with time, just kind of steadily moving away. And we're already out close to a week out, so we'll stop there. But the bottom line, no big problems at all in the Atlantic Basin. And even if that system does develop in the Pacific, away it goes, shooing away, getting away from the Mexican coastline. So if you're in Acapulco or Manzanillo, Zihuatanejo, the Baja, Cabo San Lucas, no issues at all. Even if that generates big swells, that'll take a few days to get there. So no problem at all. All right, I am on the podcast every morning. Start your day off with a dose of Mark Sudduth's, look at the tropics if you want to. Pick it up on all these different podcast features down here, from Breaker to the Google Podcast, Spotify, the RSS feed is there. You know how to do all that by now in this modern connected world. Anchor.fm/HurricaneTrack is the main link, hosted by Anchor, a Spotify company. And yeah, it's just a little short digest of what I'm looking at in the upcoming day. And once we do get some development out there in the Atlantic, or maybe even something in the Eastern Pacific that threatens land, this little morning podcast will get a little longer. But again, it's meant to be sort of your early morning look at what's happening and what I'm keeping an eye on for the day ahead. And then we use this video right here to go into more detail. Make sense? All right. So subscribe to that podcast if you like, and see what's up each morning, what I'm thinking of, what I'm looking at, any changes, whatever. We'll cover that in the early morning podcast and then go into more detail right here on the YouTube video. Speaking of YouTube, subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Like, share, tell people about what we're doing. I think it's really remarkable how it's grown over the last few years, and it's all because of you. And speaking of you, thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Nice little segue there into my exit. I am Mark Sudduth. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be back with the morning podcast, and then we'll do the Hurricane Outlook and discussion each afternoon over the weekend ahead. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth. Have a great weekend. Speaking of weekends, and I'll talk to you throughout tomorrow and Sunday.